Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 25. Today, I've got a great guest on the show, a good friend of mine, a client, a teammate in football, basketball. We've done it all. And I want to introduce Danial Ali to the show. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. We've been talking about this for quite some time now, so I know you've made the trip to Toronto now, and appreciate you coming on the show. Today's show is going to be based on real estate investments. So we're just going to talk about the nitty-gritty, how Danial became an investor in real estate, what drawbacks he went through, what were the pros and the cons of investing. And I want the younger generation, or even the older guys who haven't invested in properties yet, to sort of learn from what Danial has to share, how he got into the real estate investing business, and hopefully we can learn some things from your experience, hopefully. So without further ado, just give me a quick introduction as to who you are. And first question I had for you was, how did you get into the real estate investing, and who kind of guided you in that direction?
Yeah, so hello, everyone. My name is Danial Ali. Full-time work, I'm actually a portfolio manager for the federal government. Real estate investment or real estate investing has been something that I've been doing from the side from a very young age. So I'm just going to put the caveat out there right now. Like anything, like any little like success that I've had in investing has been because of my dad. Like you've met him, know like how passionate
he's helped me a lot too, actually.
Yeah. So basically what happened is when we moved to Canada, I think like end of 99, we moved here. We were renting a place in Scarborough, and I think in 2000 my dad had bought a semi-detached bungalow in Brampton.
Nice.
So we made the move right away. So home ownership was very important to him.
Yeah.
So that's something we got into right away. Now he had that home. That was the only one he had. But the people who know him know he likes to like connect with people, talk to the neighbors. And one of our neighbors actually had suggested to him to look into investing in real estate.
Right.
And I was lucky enough that he actually moved forward with it, because like we know many people who've been here for so long, right? And they're just hesitant, and they just need some support to be able to get that first one.
Someone to tell them.
Yeah, even if it's just for their own.
Yeah.
Right? Not even to worry about the actual investment property, but just something to have of your own.
Yeah.
So we had already passed that. So what he had done is, I think we stayed in that Brampton house for maybe like 2 years. And he ended up buying a property in Markham. And when we moved to the property in Markham, he kept the one in Brampton. So that's basically where it started.
Yeah.
Right. So at the time, I don't know, like I was like 10, 12.
Yeah.
Like I was very young at the time. But what he would do is anytime there was work required on the house, anytime we had to go see a realtor, anytime we had to go find a tenant, You'd
be there.
I would be forced to tag along. Like I'd be voluntold to come, right? And at the time, I didn't appreciate it, to be honest, because I was like, let me
watch TV.
Let me play games. Let me stay home. Let me have fun. But at the time, like, I was like complaining a lot.
Yeah.
But like, I'm very grateful that he forced and like told me to come with him, because that's really where I started to like get interested in it.
Yeah. Nice. So that was your dad's first property. Like, talk about your first investment property. How old were you? What did you buy? How much? Did you end up selling it? Do you still have it? Just talk a little bit about that and how you got started.
Okay. So personally, my first property was a corner townhouse in Ajax.
Nice.
And this was basically as soon as I graduated from university.
Yeah.
My dad was like, we need to get a property.
Yeah.
Right. And this was more so to have something of my own. Right. Because at the time, like, even after I graduated, I was living with my parents and I had no intention of moving out. So he was like, you need to get a place. For now, it'll be an investment. But, once you're married, family grows, you're going to need something for yourself. And even at the time when I had booked the property, I was like, this is expensive. Yeah. Right. So it was a $500,000 corner townhouse.
Okay.
Right. And I was,
it
was expensive at the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my first choice.
Yeah.
Because before the builder had released it, there was 2 other ones that I had wanted. Yeah. But those were sold out.
Okay.
Right. This is when, like, Thursday night, the builder had said, we're going to release on Friday for you to come and get appointments to come in Saturday to book it.
Yeah.
So we lined up like 5 a.m. on Friday because this was
Okay.
those times where you had to line up outside.
Pack a tent and stuff.
Yeah. So I like took off work.
Yeah.
I lined up at like 5 a.m. We were able to get something because even then I was like, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah.
But my dad was like,
Just
get it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Just get it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's like important where you have somebody who'll be able to push you when you're indecisive.
Right.
Because at the time I had some sort of knowledge, right? Some aspects of the real estate I knew, but a lot of it I didn't.
Yeah.
But to have somebody to push you to be like, no, just do it.
Yeah.
Like I have your back.
Right.
Or I can I can help you along the way. That was very important to me.
Yeah.
So we booked it. I still have the property till now.
So you didn't sell it?
No, I haven't sold it yet. But my plan's always been to hold it long term.
Yeah.
Just because like I got it for such a good price, right?
Yeah.
But also, things can always change. Like if I'm ever coming back to Toronto, right, and I need a bigger place, might have to sell that one to upgrade, right?
Yeah, and you had the equity in that product. What do you think it's worth right now? Probably doubled in value, almost. I would say.
I like to be conservative.
Yeah.
So that's something you'll see. Like I like to be very conservative. So I would say like 859.
Okay, so still considerably higher than what?
Yeah. I mean, I know realtors will say 1.2.
1.2.
Right? Like they'll. But for me, like I like to be very conservative.
Smart.
Yeah. In my like real estate investing journey.
Yeah. So I mean, one thing I've already learned is you started early at a very young age, and you had somebody who was there to kind of guide you like your father did. For those people, let's say that are maybe older than what you were when you bought your first property, but want to get in but don't have that guiding person, what do you recommend to them? Is it too late now, or do you still think they should invest in a property?
So I don't think there's a like one answer for everybody. Because it really depends on your personality, right? I think real estate is still a good investment, but it's a matter of what do you want to do in real estate, right? Like, do you want to be managing your own properties? Do you want to find the tenant, or do you want to simply like give money and then just get the returns? Like, if you want nothing to do with the real estate, then you could just invest in like REIT in the stock market, right? Just to have some exposure to real estate. But if you want to actually get in and manage the property yourself, and you don't have any guidance, I think it's important for people to spend a lot of time learning before they actually jump in. Right. Because before, maybe you could get away with it if the property is like 300,000. Okay, I made some mistakes, I can recover.
Right.
If you're getting into something,
that's true.
900,000, 1,000,000, 800, like there's not that much of like a margin of error. Right. So first things first, like this is just general advice I've given to people who don't own or who own and are looking to invest, is like spend a lot of time just learning, like every aspect of it, because there's a lot of ways to make money off of real estate, right? But no, definitely there's still an opportunity. So it's really how much you're willing to put in, right? What's your risk tolerance? Like for me personally, I know we'll get into it, but after I had two properties, one in Ajax and the other one in Lindsay, I still had some money. But I was like, there's nothing in the GTA that I could do with it. So I need to go outside of the GTA. Right. So I know we'll get into it. So I just wanted to like let people know there's other opportunities to invest outside of the GTA.
And that's a good segue, because that's something that I have done myself. You've done. We've sort of worked together as well. And you've given me ideas of where to invest, and I've given you ideas as well. So it's good collaboration. That's interesting what you said, because there's still opportunities out there. But you might have to look outside of the GTA. So I think one of the major objections that people tell me is like, okay, well, I live in Toronto or Ottawa or whatever. How am I going to manage that property? There's pros and cons. It can be done. I've done it. You've done it. But what are some, I would say, solutions to that objection that you tell people? If let's say, okay, you know what, you might have to go to Kingston to buy a property for $500,000, but still get good rent. And someone says, well, how am I going to manage it? How have you been able to do that with your investment properties? And what would you advise to someone who's thinking that way?
So again, a lot of it depends on like how much time you can give towards it. It's important if you want to be not bothered a lot, right? Or if you want to just have to make decisions when things come up, you have to get a property management company at
Yeah.
that time, right? Because Kingston's like a two-hour drive from
Yeah.
here,
That's
right? Like for me, if I was still within the GTA and
Yeah.
I had a property in Kingston, like I would go myself
Yeah.
and deal with it.
It's still doable. I'm
Yeah.
the same way. Yeah.
Yeah, like, but it's not for everybody.
It's not for
right?
everyone, yeah.
Because some
Yeah.
people, like, if they have kids,
Yeah.
right, if they have a certain schedule, you can't just let
Yeah.
it go and leave, right?
Yeah.
I can do it because, like, I have my family,
Yeah.
my wife's family's here, so like, it's not too much of
Right.
an issue.
Right.
But definitely, if you want to be more hands off,
Yeah.
and eventually it's gonna get to the point where if, let's say, you do get multiple properties,
Yeah.
at some point you're gonna have to get a property manager.
You will, yeah.
Right. So, but it's important that when you actually get somebody, it's not you just pick, like, you have to do your due diligence, right? This is just blanket statement for anyone who you speak with. You have to do your due diligence. You're not speaking to one property manager. You're going to speak to 10, right? And then based on that, you're going to make a decision. You need to be very clear, right, in terms of expectations.
Right.
You could say something like, oh, if there's an issue and it's like something's broken, it's under $500, like, don't disturb him with it.
Right.
Right. The other thing with Kingston, or just getting a property a little bit further, is that it depends what you're buying, right? If there's a multi-unit property, there's going to be more issues.
Yeah.
If it's an older property, there's going to be more issues.
Right.
Right. Like, for example, the property I have in Lindsay,
Yeah.
Lindsay's like an hour or so away from Pickering.
Yeah.
But I haven't had an issue because it's a brand new
newer
pre-construction,
property.
right?
Yeah.
Like, really, what problems are you going
Right.
to have
Yeah.
within like 3 to 5 years of
Yeah.
having the property? And it depends, like, there's so many factors. It depends what type of tenant you have. If you have somebody who's willing to just get it fixed,
Yeah.
right, and then you can just pay them,
Yeah.
like, that's even better, because then there's no
Exactly.
property manager in the middle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of different solutions,
Yeah.
right? So what I've learned so far is, like, when you're in real estate, there's going
Yeah.
to be like problems
Yeah.
from every situation, like things you didn't even realize were
Right.
going to be problems.
Exactly.
And then you just have to be able to manage like,
Yeah.
how you're going to solve it.
No, and I like how you bring both sides of it, because, as realtors, hopefully not me, but, a lot of us sometimes are like, yeah, real estate is like the best. There's no problem. It's like problem free. But really, like, on the other side of the coin, like, there's pros and cons, right? So some of the drawbacks, like you said, could be, dealing with a difficult tenant, or maybe repairs and maintenance. So can you share, and just be upfront of it. Can you share an example of, okay, if you're going to be a landlord, this is this type of situation that you're going to have to deal with. Obviously, the returns are going to be there, but you're going to have to be a landlord. So what is one specific story that maybe you dealt with in the past that you can share that we can learn from?
You just want one story?
One or whatever.
Like this alone
I'm sure you have
could be an
multiple
entire-
stories.
This alone could be an entire podcast.
Give us your best story. Or most.
Some of them I can't even say, like, on camera. So I'll tell you those
Okay.
off
the record.
And if somebody wants to know, they can message you.
We can message you directly.
But I'll talk about
Yeah.
one of the properties. Actually, this happened to all of the properties I have right now in
Yeah.
Timmins, right? So in Timmins, we put in an offer. It got accepted. There was a condition for financing and like home inspection. That's
Yeah.
normal that we do. So financing wasn't a problem. Home inspection, we put it
Yeah.
through, and the inspector went in. He's like, "Oh, everything's completely fine."
Yeah.
And this happened to like multiple properties.
Okay.
The same scenario.
Right.
Right. So in Timmins, they don't like to have a breaker panel for your electrical is
Yeah.
not really something that's very common, because a lot of those buildings are very old.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So based on the home inspector,
Yeah.
he looked at the panel and he said, yes, there are breakers in this panel.
Okay.
Right. So the electrical has been upgraded.
Okay.
And obviously, as a home inspector, they can't make holes in the
yeah.
wall. So he has to make
Yeah.
his like decision based on what's apparent.
Right.
So once the closing happened, everything's gone through, I get
Yeah.
the keys. Then we start obviously renovating.
Yeah.
So as soon as we opened the walls,
Oh, no.
all of the electrical was like knob and tube.
Oh man.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that basically the entire house, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a multi-unit building.
Yeah.
So all of the units had to be rewired for the new
Yeah,
electrical.
Yeah.
And this happened multiple times.
Right.
But the good thing, the second time I did this was
Yeah.
I put it as a contingency, like
Okay.
in the
So you
construction.
learned from that,
I was
yeah.
like, let me just do this just in case.
Yeah.
Right. But that was probably one of the worst things.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's like when you have a budget, when you're so
Yeah.
like when you do your due diligence, you've done everything you can, you have your numbers,
Yeah.
you make the decision.
And this surprise takes place.
It's
Yeah.
always going to be something.
Yeah.
Right. There's always going to be something that goes wrong.
Yeah. So has that experience, or those many experiences, have they ever sort of made you think twice or regret about real estate investing? Or are you still an advocate and say, you know what, despite that, I saw these things coming, or there's surprises? Like, do you ever budget for that? And are you still, an advocate to invest or not?
So I think like to say this only happens in real estate is not fair. Because in investing, you invest in the stock market, go up, go down.
It goes down,
like, That's going to happen. Invest in crypto, it goes a little bit, goes
crazy
up and crazy down, right? So
it's not just real estate.
It's not just real estate, right? Like, it's just a matter of what it is that you're passionate about. Because I don't say real estate's for everybody, but I think you should invest in things that you know and you understand and you're passionate about, right? And you enjoy. Like, we were talking about this before the camera turned on, but like, we've had these conversations just for fun. Like, exactly. for fun, we're talking about real estate, right? Like, those weirdos who are watching like Property Brothers or like home makeovers, right? So, no, definitely, like, for me, it was a learning experience. And the good thing was that it wasn't something that would break me. Right, it wasn't like 200,000. Like, it's not it's something where I could still recover from. Right, and the good thing was that this was in Timmins. Right, so my margin for investing there is like much larger than investing here. So it was a learning experience for me. Right, like things are gonna go wrong. Right, you can't expect everything to be 100%.
Exactly.
Like, look at we'll talk about the challenges we have, but I think me personally, like, I've changed my strategy again, I think, in the past few years, because in COVID, we were told by people and like experts on TV that rates are going to be low for like foreseeable future. Go ahead, spend, buy, right? And like, what, we've quadrupled or like tripled in the last year. Right. So this is something that, like, I think we have, like, I've changed how I think about real estate a little bit now. Like, how conservative I was before, I'm just like even more
conservative.
So
how are you discovering like these cities like Timmins and Lindsay? Like, how did you come across them? Did your dad tell you? Did you just kind of do your homework, like you said? Like,
so we have one of my dad's friends. So he's somebody who just travels, right? So we have friends who travel east. We have friends who travel north, right? Everyone's traveling everywhere, and everyone's just giving their opinion about, oh, this is a great place, right? Go north. This is a good place. Go east. Go to Windsor. That's it. Because I've been to Windsor as well. I've been to London, right? They're all Kingston's a great place, right? So what we do, and this is mostly like my dad pushing me, because I'm like, yeah, sure, they're great, but he's like, no, let's go see it.
Let's go for a road trip.
Let's go for a road trip. Right? Because he's like, you can't take everyone's word. Like, everyone's going to be biased about where they're investing. You need to go see it yourself. So Lindsay's, I think, been one of my best investments so far, because that was a detached bungalow. And it was basically like 500,000 at the time that I booked it, right? And the good thing was, at the times, I think rents they weren't going to break even, but it was going to be pretty close, right? And for me, it was like, I have some money and I don't really have too many expenses. So I'm like, I can eat that and then like see what happens with the property later on. But what had happened is, when we went to see the builder, because we went, I think, like 2-3 times. So when we went to the builder, the first time we got information, right? What's available, what's going on. Second time we went, we're like, oh, it's still available. Like, how many have you sold since the last month? And they're like, oh, we sold like 2 properties. I'm like, there's only an hour away from Pickering. Right? It's not like the population's still growing here. So why aren't they not selling it? So at the time, I didn't actually have the down payment. So what I had done is, we set out this payment plan. And basically, for the closing, like, I was paying the down payment over 2 years.
Oh, nice.
Like, every month I was paying like $1,000 or $2,000, right? Just to like get it. And I was like, I just have this, like, I have a little bit of money, but what am I gonna do with it? Might as well like put it into this. Right. So that was a really good investment. Timmins, how we found out, was one of my dad's friend owns a hotel there. Like, he had recently bought a hotel. And he actually bought a hotel and apartment building in Kirkland Lake as well, which is on the way. So what they had done is they booked a school bus and they took a bunch of investors from the GTA, and they drove them up to Kirkland Lake, showed them what they were doing there. Then they drove them up to Timmins to show them what they were doing there. They like had like dinner. We had like a comedy thing. And then we stayed overnight, and on the way back, they showed us like a few other things on the way. So their whole point of the trip was to get people to invest with them. Right. So they were offering, I think, like a 12% return on their money. But because we had some time when we were visiting, my dad and I, we spoke to a few realtors. We're like, why
Yeah.
don't you just show us a few properties?
Yeah.
Right? We're here anyways.
Yeah.
We're not gonna come back.
Yeah.
It's like 7 hours
8 hours,
away.
yeah.
We're not coming back here.
Yeah,
Might as
yeah.
well see what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And like I had this image in my mind of like what Timmins would be like.
Yeah.
Right? And I went there. I mean, you've been there.
Yeah.
Like, this is like a city.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a proper city.
Yeah, it's a proper
Yeah.
city. There's like buildings, and there's like there's a Walmart. There's Home Depot, right?
Wherever there's a Walmart,
Yeah.
it's a good sign.
Exactly. There's a Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Like that's everywhere. So we went around with the realtors,
Yeah.
and I had spoken to I think like 3 or 4 property managers before I went.
Right.
So we were able to meet a few of them, and then we were like, okay, so we got the numbers,
Yeah.
right, in terms of the units available for each property,
Yeah.
like how much they would be, what we can expect for rents, and then we came back and we did our math.
Yeah.
And we're like, this makes like
sense.
sense,
Yeah.
right? And the main attractive thing was it was
Yeah.
very little money to
Right.
get it. That was the main thing.
Well, what are we talking? Like how much?
Okay, so like
This is gonna surprise a lot of our
so
listeners.
one of the triplexes I had
Yeah.
bought. Now keep in mind this is a bank repo, so there was
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of renovations
Renovation
required. So I
required.
had bought a triplex there, so 3
Yeah.
units
Okay.
for like 55.
No way.
Right. So I'll give you
Wow.
some numbers. So we
Yeah,
bought
yeah.
that triplex for 55,000.
Yeah.
So we put in maybe like 70 or 80 to
Yeah.
renovate all 3 units,
Okay.
and then I refinanced it
Yeah.
for around, I think it was like 250 was the amount
Right.
that was appraised, and then I refinanced all my money.
Yeah.
And then when it's fully rented,
Yeah.
like gross rents are around like 3,300,
Yeah.
right? But keep in mind there's costs,
There's
right?
costs,
There's
of
the
course.
mortgage,
Yeah.
there's more costs up north, like for example snow cleaning
Yeah.
is very expensive,
Right.
right? Contractors are much more expensive up north.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Still made sense though, number wise.
because when I did the numbers, I was like, I need it to be so only one unit will support the entire building,
Right.
right? So even if it's empty,
Yeah.
and just one unit is paying, like it's
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
until we find somebody else.
Yeah. And this is like your conservative sort of mindset.
Yeah. I
because
was because for me, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to lose money.
You don't lose money on it.
I don't care what
Yeah.
happens. Like, I've probably given like offers
Yeah.
like over like 10, 15 properties just
Yeah.
generally,
Yeah.
but I don't care if I lose them,
Right.
right? Because I'm like, this is the price I'm gonna pay.
Yeah.
This is what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And if they don't take it, they don't like. I've let go of a property in Timmins for
Yeah.
over 5,000
Right.
just because they wouldn't budge 5,000.
Yeah.
I can't risk.
You
this.
stuck to your guns.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't mind like missing out on properties,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're not gonna hit a home run every
Right,
time, right? Singles, doubles.
Yeah. So that's how you win, man.
Hopefully,
You manufacture
we'll find
runs, you know. So.
out. Yeah, exactly.
So no, that's amazing, man. That's really interesting perspective. Now, because you've invested in so many different areas and cities aside from the GTA, like what would you say are some key pillars that you look for in an investment property?
So within the GTA and like southwestern Ontario, most of it that I've seen is like I just look for appreciation.
Yeah.
Is there possibility for appreciation?
Okay.
And if there is some possibility, I need to make sure that the rents will basically cover the
Yeah.
expenses, right? Now the problem is that's not really the case anymore,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of the times when I was investing here,
Yeah.
there's not really calculations you can do to like what you're going to expect for like cash flow. There's
Right.
no such thing as cash flow here.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's really just a play on equity.
Yeah.
Right? That it's going to go up. Now I think the problem is like, which is the same problem I had when I had initially bought in Ajax. I thought it was like 500,000 for a townhouse. This is
Yeah.
crazy. It's so expensive. Now the same townhouse is going for $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I've like branched out to other places. Like Timmins or other places specifically, you can actually do calculations for like
Yeah.
what's the cap rate, right? You can have some cash flow.
Right.
What's the cash on cash return? Can't really do that, or I haven't been able to find a way to
Right.
to really judge how to purchase property here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really it. Like that's where I'm struggling as well to
Okay.
figure out how to get a property here.
Yeah.
But actually, like recently, I've actually seen some deals.
Okay.
Right? Like recently, I saw a duplex. It's listed for 125,000.
Where is this?
This is between Belleville and Kingston.
Okay.
So it's north of Odessa,
Yeah.
right? So regardless, right, 125,000. I don't care what shape the property's in.
Right.
Even if I have to put in like 200, 300,000, like it's worth it for a duplex.
Yeah.
Like it's probably like 20 minutes from 401,
Yeah.
like 30 minutes from Kingston,
Right.
right? So that might be something to look into.
Yeah.
The issue now is like I have to figure out a way to get the
Yeah.
the funds.
The funds.
Right. I think
Yeah.
that's the issue with it. Like a lot of people are going through.
Yeah, and speaking of the funding now, because obviously you're working full time. There's only so much that the banks are going to lend you, right?
Yeah.
So what has been your strategy in terms of multiplying your properties and still being able to get approvals? Are you doing joint ventures? Are you refinancing? Like, what is your secrets that you're allowed to share online?
So I had to refinance the Ajax property to get the approval for the Lindsay one.
Right.
Other than that, there hasn't really been much, right? Because those are the only two properties I have here.
Yeah.
Right. With Timmins is a completely different story because those are under a holding corp.
Okay.
So those are approved based on the income the specific property generates.
Gotcha.
Right. So it has nothing to do with me personally.
Yeah.
Which was another big reason
It's a good
that
tip,
I wanted
actually.
to go.
Yeah.
Because it's a completely different issue.
Right.
It doesn't affect me personally.
Yeah.
So that was one of the main reasons that I had done it through the corporation and not personally.
Yeah.
Now with that said, like I also haven't taken any money from the corporation, right? Because I'm like, whatever's growing there is there, right? I don't want anything right now.
Yeah.
JVs I've done a few times.
Yeah.
So you just have to get creative, man.
Yeah.
At this point, like I'm at a certain stage where I can only do so much.
Right.
But like for example, if somebody who's single, right, if they can like buy something outside of the city, and like just either stay with their parents or like share, have roommates. Yeah. Like it's not easy to do. Right. Right. There's ways to do it. Yeah. Right. There's ways to like make money, but I think it's I don't know who said this, but it's like it's very simple in terms of how you make money. But it's actually very difficult to do it. Yeah. Right. Everybody knows how to make money. Yeah. But will you actually do the work to actually do it? Yeah. Right. Will you budget? Will you stick to the budget? Yeah. Right.
And that's a good point because even the last podcast I did, I talked about, it was just me. I was talking about how to save up for a down payment in this environment for a millennial, because obviously with the way home prices are going, it's not getting any cheaper, right? Yeah. So one thing that I recommended was, okay, you know what? If you're going to buy a property, maybe you consider buying outside of GTA. Maybe you get something where you can live in the basement and you can rent out the upstairs, right? For temporarily until you can pay off the mortgage a little bit more. Or move in with your parents, for example, right? So these are things that not everyone is in a position to do these things, but if you are, like, there's still ways. But I think, like you said, you got to get creative. You got to think outside of the box. Yes, properties were cheaper when you and I were buying, but if you look hard and you look hard enough, there's still deals out there. Maybe not in front of you, but around you. So you have to do your homework like you said.
I mean, even when I was purchasing the Lindsay property, I was like, worst case scenario, like if this doesn't get rented, like I'll move there. Yeah. I don't care if I have to drive 2 hours to Toronto. Right, for work. And I mean, it's even easier now, right? If you don't have to go in now 2 days a week. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, what are you willing to sacrifice, right? You can't. Yeah. Maybe you can, but generally it's difficult to have all the free time you want, right? Your health has to be like, health is generally okay. And like, also you want to have a lot of money. Yeah. Can't have everything.
You can't have it all.
If you want to live in Toronto.
Exactly.
Some people can, but most people I don't think can do everything, right? Yeah. So if you're willing to, like, if you want to have your own place, if you move further away, go, like I'd go to Barrie. Yeah. Right? I would go to Barrie. I would go like as far as I need to. Yeah. This is me personally speaking, like to have, because I want to have a house.
You want to have a house.
Right? Some people don't, which is fine, right? If they like prefer renting. Yeah. Like their lifestyle, right? But me personally, I want to have something that's my own. Yeah. I don't care where it is. Right. I'll commute. I don't care. Yeah. Right. So really depends. Like, what is it? Yeah. I think people have to like sit down and see what is it that we're actually willing to do to make this. And honestly, like, do they really want to invest in real estate, or is this something just as shiny everyone talks about it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Like, are you serious about it? Because it's not easy. Right. I don't think I've heard anyone say that real estate is easy.
It's never easy
to invest in.
Yeah.
Right.
It's never easy. Yeah. And like you said, I think it's not the only investment out there. Yes, it is a good investment depending on what you buy, how you buy. But it's a personal preference. Like, I'm passionate about real estate. You're passionate. So we obviously have a bias towards that. I'm trying to get my younger brothers into it now, right? So I'm trying to be their guiding force in some way. And just like how your dad took you to, showing and stuff like that. So I'm trying to do that as well with them. But, at the end of the day, I think, like you said, invest into something that you know. Yep. Because cash in the bank doesn't do anybody any good. Have a reserve fund, like have your savings for sure, because of situations like we're in right now. Mm-hmm. You need that, because if you lose your job or you're not breaking even your investments, you need to have that reserve setting aside for you. But I think invest into something, whether it's real estate, stocks, but understand what you're investing in, and just don't go in blindly, because I've seen people unfortunately make that mistake even in real estate. It's a shiny object syndrome, like my mentor Jas says. But you have to know what you're buying at the end of the day. Last question for you on the real estate front is, where do you think, from an outsider, like where are you seeing the market headed in the next 6 to 12 months? Like your personal opinion.
Personally,
yeah,
I have no clue.
That's
Personally,
the best answer.
I have no clue. Right? Like I've heard people. It's this is a lull.
Yeah.
It's about to double, right? And I've heard people, this is it. It's about to halve.
Yeah.
I don't think really anybody knows, right?
Nobody knows.
Every year, everyone's like, "Oh, there's a bubble."
Yeah.
Every year it goes up.
Yeah.
Right. Last year it's been down a little bit.
Yeah.
But honestly, like I don't care where it goes. Right.
Yeah.
I'm basing my investments based on like my principles, and whether it goes up, whether it goes down,
right,
I'm gonna continue investing.
It's long term for you, basically.
Yeah, it's long term. Like I have no intentions of selling unless. Unless it's to buy another one.
Right. Gotcha.
Right, so.
That's awesome, man. No, this has been amazing. So that's on the real estate side. We're going to get some fun rapid fire questions now, which I didn't prepare you about, but I'll ask you anyways. What is your favorite movie that you've watched over and over again?
Okay, so it's between two of them. It's either The Wailing, which is Korean.
Okay, I have never heard of that. Okay.
I know, I probably haven't, but check it out. The Wailing, it's a horror movie. Okay. And then Life is Beautiful, which is an Italian movie.
Yeah.
That one's one of my,
that was a good one.
Like my top.
Okay. Favorite place to travel?
Favorite place to travel? Yeah. So far, I think my favorite place is Costa Rica.
Okay.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
People are super nice.
Nice.
Food was good. Weather was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many things to do. Like I wasn't bored. I was literally like I would get out of the hotel and walk.
Nice.
And that was an experience.
Any real estate you bought over there?
No, but I've seen like
I've been getting a lot of emails about Costa Rica now for some reason. So
there's a huge U.S. expat community there.
Right.
So people are investing there as well.
Maybe that's why. Yeah. Jordan or LeBron? Come on, man.
I knew this question was gonna come. I knew this question was gonna come. Man. Okay, look.
Make the right choice.
You're not gonna like the answer, man. Look, I have to choose LeBron.
Okay, fair enough. I respect that.
But I think when these conversations happening, there's no nuance. Everyone's just like, "Oh, he's the best. 6 wins. He's the best. Defense." It's like, okay, you need to have like some points to argue.
Some backup, some points.
Yeah, like what is the? Right. It was a completely different game. Completely different like competition. Rules are different. The player is different, right? It's like I think somebody had said recently. I think I saw it on like TikTok. This girl was saying if LeBron came before Jordan, there would be no conversation.
Really? Okay.
I was like, it's a hot take.
That's a hot take. Okay.
My thing is, Jordan was the GOAT of his time. LeBron's the GOAT of his time.
Yeah.
Really, it's like pretty. I don't see any value in figuring out who's one and who's two.
Yeah. Fair enough. We might cut out the part about LeBron, but last question: what's the best piece of advice someone has given you?
Spend less than you make.
Wow, okay.
That's it, man.
That's
it's nothing
deep,
crazy. It's like very simple.
I like that.
Yeah, spend less than you make. That's it.
You're a very simple guy with simple information, but it works, man.
You have to be, right?
It works, yeah.
Look at Dave Ramsey.
Right?
For people who don't know, please listen to him.
Look him up.
He's one aspect where he's completely anti-debt.
Yeah.
But it's good to listen to him, right?
It is.
Because he's made his money. And his entire philosophy is like super simple. Yeah. Keep it simple, right? Yeah. It's not complicated. I think we've talked about this.
That's true.
It's not complicated to make money. It's just difficult.
Yeah.
Right?
So simple, man. Yeah. No, that's fantastic, right? That's probably, I would say, the best advice I've heard so far on this show, man. Honestly, that's amazing, man. That's good for you. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
No, thank you, man.
That was fun. We'll definitely get you back on the podcast sometime. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, guys.